What's up, y'all? My name is Evan Strong, the founder of InTheImageClothingCompany. Today is the 16th of June, 2025, and what I want to show is a good generic t-shirt, okay? We've talked about it time and time again under In The Image Clothing Company. Keyword: allowing the human body to work. We do it through clothing, right? The center line of the human being that has to remain, the sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw, which naturally stabilizes the entire body. We place clothing on our bodies and it has to stay centered, otherwise our bodies never could. And on Earth's gravity, they just, have no other say. 2 feet opposing the center, gripping arches inward, keeping us vertical. And, well, yeah, we talk about a lot more than clothing, but we have to approach the human body through clothing. It's the only thing placed on us physically, so it's the thing we have to address to get the body's physical function to happen. But we do talk about eating, sleeping, standing, walking, sitting, hydration, breathing, just doing things naturally as a human being, okay? And what I want to show here is just a generic shirt. What's good, minimal, simple. Really, a lot of what In The Image Clothing Company clothing will always look similar to, in order to allow the body to work, right? I say staying centered, fitting correct, being made from 100% natural materials is how In The Image Clothing Company clothing will always look. But I'm going to show something that's not our product, and it's actually exactly what I'm wearing right now. I bought these 2 shirts used, and they're the same thing. So you can see me wearing one, and then I can just kind of show out, or point out and show the design, right? Because the whole point is not having to buy clothing from In The Image Clothing Company, not having to buy any dog products necessarily for In The Image Clothing Company poodles, right? Not having to spend any money to be allowed to operate as a human being, right? As a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space. The human body is just what it is, right? As I say, levers, hinges, operations, and all the ways that it does. It has to just be in its neutrals, right? Neutral wrist, neutral shoulders, neutral collarbone angle, neutral jaw, neutral pelvis, neutral feet and ankles, and then traveling up, right? Everything has to track in line. So, how do we do that with a t-shirt? I've shown modifications a lot, but really the ideal and the whole point of clothing really is just to have something to put on your body and not have to alter it, okay? So this is one of those things, okay? As I talk about, well, I'll say it real quick. Clothing has to sit in the same location for everybody. And yeah, this allows that to happen. I'll talk about everything at the end, I guess, that I normally talk about. I'll show this real quick. Okay, so here's the thing. All I've done to this, modification wise, if you will, things that have to be done, right? No preference, whatever. There's only one way the human body could ever work. And tags, right? They come in clothing. They just never did decades back and ever before then. So I've removed the tag from the rear of the collar, and that's it from this. Okay, again, the same thing that I'm wearing is what I'm holding here in my hands. This one's inside out because there is branding on the outside, on the back of it, okay, is where it is. So the big thing is just minimal, okay, so that there's not excess things altering our body's function, okay? The shoulder seams ideally should just be even, right? There's 2 shoulders, there's 2 sides to the center, and they need to sit even, front to back, okay? And they're not gonna do that with a collar seam. We talked about the dreaded collar seam under In The Image Clothing Company. Check out our dreaded collar seam modification, right? Because it works very, very well, actually. But there's no seam in this collar, which is amazing, just because we have a neck and, the trachea, the upper trapezius on both sides, sternocleidomastoid coming up, just all that goes on in the neck. Collars have to stay centered. We have a video titled Keeping Collars Centered under the main side of the Image Clothing Company here, and all the things we talk about with collars around our necks, right? How button-up shirt collars affect body mechanics. We talked about it a lot. And ideally they should be snug, okay, and above the collar bones, okay? The collar bones start here at the sternum and they come up to the peak of the shoulders, and then our seams sit evenly behind the peak of the shoulders, okay? Because our shoulders only ever work behind our head, right? As I talked about with tops, the edge seams need to just be right at the functionality of the shoulder joint, because that's where it's going to function, otherwise it just can't. And this shirt does that very well. It's nice, right? Evenly sitting around your neck, even, simple seams across the shoulders, and then no side seams. That's the ideal, at least for stuff placed against our bodies directly. I made a video titled How Clothing Affects the Rib Cage. And if we've got seams coming down, it's not going to allow that nice, even just position of gravity, pulling our arms straight down, right? Against our rib cage, because there's just, excessive material from a seam if there's side seams. So this is great. And then not only that, making this shirt a good generic t-shirt, the lack of side seams, which is amazing, right? To not have them. But also, this stitch here in the armpit comes down even, right? You see this? This is what we want, because again, gravity, right? The seam stitched like that, where it's even, it's just going to be even. I mean, we need everything even. Even left to right from the center line of the human, even vertically with Earth's gravity. There you go, okay? So those seams are beautiful. We talk about that. I have a video titled Check Your Clothing's Seams. Well, under In the Image Clothing Company podcast, an episode titled Mind the Gap, where I talked about what these seams can do, especially if they're stitched, not centered. So this is great for a good generic t-shirt, right? It's nice, even seams coming down from the armpits, okay? And that's about it, really. I mean, it's that simple, and then it's good. That's the whole thing, right? In the Image Clothing Company, minimal, simple, light, brandless on the exterior, right? That's how our clothing always will be. And this in a lot of ways is that, right? Although we'll never have tags that you have to cut out. I had to, because it was in there. Otherwise, as we say, it's just causing a physical gap, changing the body's only working position. It's right on your spine in this case, in the rear of a collar. That's one of our 2 prerequisites, removing all tags under in the Image Clothing Company. Take all the tags out of everything, even shoes. And then secondly, our other prerequisite is our shoelace technique, as we show, right? There's only one way to weave a rope across the top of the human feet without altering the mechanics of the feet. And then we tie our shoes evenly with that, just because we're just tying knots on opposing sides of the body. So over toward the center line evenly on each feet. The only thing I would change about this shirt, which I will point out, is, well, anywhere you could, not having the double stitched seams. They're just, I made a video one time under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here titled Double Stitches Are Grippy and Stiff, and they just are. All that stitching material against your skin is grippy, but then especially down here at the shirt tail, if this is against your pants, it's just gripping onto your pants, and then it's essentially connecting your shoulders to your hips. And we need to have just, motion at our shoulders without the tail grabbing onto our pants and taking our pelvis with our shoulders. You got to see a little bit of what I mean. There's a, branding on this shirt, words on the back. But yeah, so I mean, if we could not have that double stitching on the bottom just so it's not so grippy, that'd be great. But sometimes what I'll do is just cut the shirt tail right above the stitch, and then if it's 100% cotton, it'll just kind of roll up a little bit. You have the potential to see me wearing shirts like that. And right now what I have is it rolled up, okay? You can just roll it. But right, In the Image Clothing Company t-shirts. We're gonna do all that we can to not have things like that be in the design, just grippy stitches around the waist, right? So there you go. Okay, a good generic t-shirt. This it really is great. Yeah, in a world of a lot of terrible design, uneven stitches, unnatural materials, random design that's just imbalanced, left to right, front to back, shoulders, seams that just don't sit behind your shoulders. There's a lot of things that make a lot of designs nowadays actually just bad. Damaging to the body is the point. No like preference, but just there's only one way the human body could ever work, and we just have to let it. By placing anything on us, it can't be altering the body, or else the body can't work. So anyway, there you go, right? Just showing good things to look out for if you're going to purchase a t-shirt, because if it's in the Image Clothing Company clothing, you just don't have to ever worry about it. We're gonna make it good functionality wise. It's not about fashion by any means. But anything you do purchase from anybody else, these are just some things to look for, because that's really what we do. As I said, if you never even purchase clothing from us, you can still get all the information you would need from us to just let your body function. Okay, so there you go. Now, I said our 2 prerequisites. I talked about our where our tops need to sit just as human beings. Top seams behind the shoulders, edge seams at the shoulders. Pants need to be entirely above the hips, just so we're not restricting our hips, and then slightly higher in the front than the rear with the waistband angle, just because that's the only way our pelvis can actually be neutral, meaning our hips and our core muscles can just actually work, because that's the only reason they're there, is to just be constantly activated and just support the whole body. And then we get into depth with free modifications, and then discussions on just the anatomy of the human body alone. And yeah, I love this, okay? Because this is what I needed always, right? It's just something good to not restrict my body, and it's not so common to come across this nowadays. If you go to a thrift store and just see a bunch of design, because it's like a used place, right, with a bunch of different designs accumulated into one location, or you go out there and buy clothing new, it's actually pretty rare nowadays to see something that's this centered, this balanced, and it just has to be on Earth's gravity, right, with 2 sides to this fleshly being we've been given. So I'll talk about each of the other 3 sides of our company real quick. In the image, I'm choking up so bad too, bro. I haven't eaten or drank anything today. My body has been adjusting so much, and again, that's a beautiful thing. As I've said, the gift of video, being able to document these things in this time while my body is adjusting so much, even my face, even my entire body as a whole, it's been going through what I show under In the Image Clothing Company, getting out of these chronic patternings and scar tissue from years of imbalanced clothing. Okay, so the proof is in the pudding, if you will, right? It's just as real as it gets, as I say. So that clothing is the only fix to human beings' physical problems, even internal things. It travels into the inside of the body. The human body is about the skeletal system's position, which is entirely determined by what we place onto it, being clothing. And then even the ways our organs sit inside our bodies. Mine have adjusted. In ways I can just feel. So anyway, the proof is in what you're seeing here. And right now, it's been a weird time where I've been trying to make videos, and it hasn't felt so right in some cases. And a big part of it is, me, not being able to breathe. It's almost like allergy type symptoms, where your nose kind of gets clogged up. But it's positions of things, it's the trachea and the collarbone and the muscles coming down, clashing into bones, and the jaw and the sternocleidomastoid hitting together, and just all the adjustments that are happening in my body. It's being documented, and I just want everything to be as obvious as we can get it to be as real as it is, as credible as we are, right? That's why we're here. So anyway, In the Image Clothing Company podcast, one of our fourths to In the Image Clothing Company. We're on episode 132. That's where we're at as of the last one we filmed. We have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. Deep dive, blunt, bold, raw, and real discussions. It's really awesome, truly. Check it out. We have In the Image Clothing Company poodles. We breed purebred standard poodles. We let dogs stay natural. We'll have, as I was saying, poodle products. Wow, they can be used for any dog. Collars, leashes, harnesses, those type of things, right? Natural materials where we can. And same thing with like the collars of our tops for human beings, right? Staying centered, fitting correct for the dogs, balanced weight-wise, because that's often just not the case with dog products. So we do a lot of things with and for dogs, specializing, like I said, though, in standard poodles is really all that we personally do, as In the Image Clothing Company poodles. But a lot of advocating, poodle parade events, where we will be together with purebred poodles of any size and or poodle mixes of any size you can bring. And a lot of them will be like clean the creek events where we'll just pick up trash and have fun with the dogs in water, right? There'll be a lot of cool stuff like that, okay? InTheImageClothingCompany.com. Go check out all the scheduling and the can and can't bring type things as well, right? But here in the state of Utah, the United States of America, where In the Image Clothing Company is based. Now, In the Image Clothing Company music is another one of our forwards, and I show the sizing and setup of guitars to not alter the body. The hands are essentially the shoulders, as the feet are essentially the hips. The body just only could ever work as a whole. And when you're doing fine little motor skills like this with a guitar, your body has to be in line. And then I also just place music there that I've made. But here's the thing that I want to mention. With a lot of me like choking up and stuff in the sinuses, I've showed my hands and how my right hand has been just so much wider than my left. Just excess bone is built up between the fingers, and so much scar tissue along the outside of my right forearm into my right elbow, and the collarbone here, where the sternocleidomastoid does come down and connect into. I've been going through so much physical release like that, and yeah, just the big thing is oversized shirts, okay? The dreaded collar seam in shirts is just going to cause that to happen. The patterning, and also sizing guitars incorrect. Guitars are just set up incorrect. And these are things that I've dealt with for so many years, right? Drawstrings incorrect, meaning just not evenly around the waist. We show the slipped lap knot under In the Image Clothing Company and tie the tail end toward the center of the human being, because then we're not twisting our entire hips with a knot. It's just rotating the pelvis, okay? And just like shoelaces, right? You're just rotating your entire body to the tip of your head, to the tips of your fingers, from just knots in your feet or knots around your waist. So the beauty of this video is actually huge for the sake of showing that this needs to be had for every human on the earth forever. No opinion that you could ever say to care about or not. There's just a center line to your body, so clothing has to be at least this well-centered. And like I'm saying, these are good shirts, design-wise and material-wise, 100% cotton. But then, in addition to that, just the documentation, right, of when I say this video is beautiful. It's good to see things happening as they do. So that things line up, as I say, right? The credibility comes as you can see things just as they are, and I never want to try to sound like I'm claiming anything or like making it seem like you should be caring about something that is like an opinion or a preference to care about or not. So it's undeniable, it's undisputed, clothing and what it's doing to the body. And what we all need, if you're ever going to wear a t-shirt, is just a really good t-shirt. Meaning always, anytime you ever put something on your body, it has to be centered. And I just haven't really shown, like this, what it looks like on the inside and, just up close. kind of the ideal, really. This is great. You know, In the Image Clothing Company t-shirts, like I'm saying, the point of them is always minimal, right? Where it's never going to be designed for the sake of design. And so whoever's made this thing, and I don't know exactly who made it, right? I mean, the branding on the exterior is something that somebody's put on. What was on this tag is actually the company who, you know, made the item of clothing itself. But yeah, you know, just like that, just like this, what I'm wearing, it's good. It is good. So there you go. This video titled The Average Modern T-Shirt under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, and I went through, and it was a t-shirt that had side seams. It had this, you know, the seams stitched unevenly, rotating the body, and it had a dreaded collar seam in it. It had 2 tags in the collar and then one on the side as well. A lot of just really imbalanced things, and I showed how to modify it. And so this is a video kind of on the opposite end of, you know, kind of like a good example. Yeah, you know, yeah, not only kind of, that's what this is. And I'm grateful to be able to have the knowledge I have, man, of this stuff, you know. As I say, no chiropractor could ever fix you, physical therapist, personal trainer, no amount of exercise or workouts or stretching or anything. I mean, stretch goes the opposite direction of the only way that muscles could ever work. Muscles only contract, okay? A video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here is, you know, that's one of the titles of one of our videos. So anyway, the point being, we need to know. You don't know what you don't know. You can't be held accountable for what you don't know, okay? Phrases I say often, phrases that are in scripture, and those ones specifically, at least. The point is, we need to know what we need. We live in a modern day with such an abundance of terrible clothing design, with every single opinion out the window, just looking at it from a physical standpoint on earth that we stand on, right? Yeah, we need to know what we need, and that's what this video is for. Tops, okay, a t-shirt. And I have shown it where I have, but it might be good actually to make a video on button-ups as well, because I have one titled How Button-Up Shirts Affect Body Mechanics under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. But if I made one, I could title it, and if I do, I will, like this: a good generic button-up shirt. Because again, In the Image Clothing Company clothing will always just be good from the factory. We will always have button-up shirts. They're awesome, but they'll stay centered, fit correct, and allow the body to work, right? So that might be a little bit of a series that I do, stemming from this t-shirt one, and then I could do pants, and that might be it. But then, you know, you would have a good visual, a good example of not only all the modifications I show to do in clothing design that has imbalances, but just a good visual of, look, this thing's good. This is what we're aiming for, right? Because that's really the point, is where are we trying to get? It's like preaching the gospel. It's like we're trying to get closer to Jesus Christ. We're trying to get back to the presence of God. It's not about talking about the things to modify and change in the world or in our lives. It's about, you know, where are we focusing? We're focusing, when it comes to t-shirts, on something that looks just about exactly like this. As far as exactly like this, minus maybe that, you know, tail end double stitch, would be just great for everybody, okay? Yeah, and maybe just not double stitches anywhere, right? But, and then obviously, as I said, you know, if the tag wasn't there to begin with, that'd be great too. But then there you go, nice and centered. I mean, just the way that my body can move now, right? I mean, the hinging will happen at my shoulders, seams will stay even, short sleeves are short enough, right? Keeping short sleeves short. A video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. We just have to have full range of motion in our elbow joint, so the sleeve can't be in the way. Keeping tops waisted. Yeah, I like it where it is here. Maybe one fold down would be okay too, which is right at the hip hinge, right? Because that's where your hips hinge, and so you have to have your clothing stop there. Otherwise, you're just restricting your body's motion, okay? Yeah, I want to thoroughly run through it. A good generic t-shirt. But yeah, you know, snug enough at the sides to where you're not hitting your elbow joint into it and then you're walking like this, right? Rather than just in line with your thumbs pointing forward. Yeah, okay, good stuff, as in this is, and I'm grateful, as I said, for it. So that's how everybody's going to be always, if that can be heard correct, when it comes to having In The Image Clothing Company clothing. If you ever purchase it, it's going to be something you'll be like, man, I'm so grateful for this shirt. I'm so grateful for these pants, you know, like being able to just live and not be altered and restricted. Yeah, that's the whole point, okay, is allowing the human body to work. You just can't ever train it. That's the whole thing, right? You're training your body, trying to, at least, within clothing that's imbalanced. Well, that's why you're trying to train it. You just can't. It'll only ever do what it does, just being the machine that it is. But we just need to know what good actually is when it comes to things that we decide to clothe our bodies with. And so now you know, at least for t-shirts. Yeah, cool. There you go. Okay, today's the 14th of April. No, what in the world? Today is actually, I was like so confident with that. No, today is wow. What is today's date? It's June 2025. It's a Monday. Oh my goodness. What in the world? I'm pretty certain I said it at the beginning. What? Well, it's the Monday in June that's somewhere around the 20th. What? The reason I'm like shocked is, why did I say the 14th of April? That might have some type of meaning that I need to realize if I can. And so maybe I'll kind of, you know, sit on that. But anyway, no, yeah, there you go. Weird. Check out, though, the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. I will be getting together with people. In addition to poodle parade events, we'll have not poodle events on this end. Main side of In The Image Clothing Company events where I'll get together with people and talk about the anatomy of the human body and address things like, you know, clothing designs that people just already have that they can do free modifications to just allow the body to work. As I've said and made it pretty clear that this is the case, up until today's date, I've never worn anything that we could call In The Image Clothing Company branded clothing. I've only purchased used clothing from other people. At least most everything I wear is used up until now, and as of now, I guess is really the best way to word that. And then, you know, I just know how to modify things to allow the body to not be altered. So, yeah, that's what I'll show a lot of at events where I, you know, get together with people. But then also just discussing daily life things, you know, yeah, and how to do them naturally. Staying centered when standing, walking, sitting, right? How to eat and keep the body centered, and how to actually breathe and why you can't. Truly, right? So a lot of cool things, man. The state of Utah, the United States of America, it'll be awesome. Stick around for the poodles. I keep saying it. Out of all the 4 things that we do under In The Image Clothing Company, they're all great. They're all purposeful and intentional. Otherwise, we wouldn't have it as one of our 4ths to our company. But yeah, the thing that I'm most excited about, that's how we're gonna say it, is In The Image Clothing Company poodles. Just having the poodles, having all that we're going to do with advocating for poodles and all the ways that happens, and check it out and you'll know what I mean. That's what I'm the most excited for as of right now, and so stick around. I just want to make sure I mention it when I feel prompted to, because I need to be getting the word out as much as I need to be getting the word out of In The Image Clothing Company poodles. This guy's ripping across the grass with a dirt bike. It's just at the park here. All right. So there you go. I wanted to see if you could see him in the camera, so you knew what I was talking about. All right, cool. A good t-shirt. Okay, there you go. Yeah, you want your body to work like mine, right? It's like one of those terrible 6-week program things. Now, really though, if you want your body to be able to work like mine, it has to be approached through clothing. And you see it, people who just have well-working bodies, right? And like actually, their clothing fits them well. Okay. In The Image Clothing Company, we just speak things as they are, speak truth, And it'll never change, bro. A good generic t-shirt, okay? Yeah. Man. I'm gonna say this, just for a little context. I made a video sitting down by the river, and I titled it, "In the Image Clothing Company Going Forth," okay? And what I said in there was a lot of stuff to expect, a lot of stuff to know about what it's going to look like going forth. Now that we've got this like well laid foundation of what we are. And one thing I said is that our videos won't be as long as they are and as long as they have been. In a lot of cases that will be the case, but then I also said, you know, when it makes sense for a video to be long, it still will. So we might still have some videos that are quite long, because a video like this is similar to those ones that I was saying they're long for the reason of giving that foundational information that'll never change. And I'm not, you know, certain that I'm like done making these foundational information packed and filled videos. Right? I was just saying it won't always be quite how it has looked at the founding. Right? I mean, that's why there's like a separation in the terminology between the founding of something and then, you know, just it as it is going forth. So yeah, a good generic t-shirt is that. But this goes into breathing. It goes into what people call posture. It goes into how much you sweat. It goes into how much you feel like you need to eat, or how dehydrated you feel like you are, which there's a lot of reasons as to why as well, which we get into under In the Image Clothing Company, hydration, and how to really stay hydrated. But yeah, it goes into the arches in your feet, okay, your tops, and having them fit correct and not be stretchy, for example, right, is one of the main things. So it goes into a lot. It's not about caring about it at all, as if you have an opinion too, right? It's either your body's going to be able to work or we're going to restrict it. And that's the only two options ever as a human fleshly being. And the tops are so important, okay? This goes into how your jaw sits and its alignment. This goes into your ability to even just, you know, move the skin on the top of your head, which is really thin little musculature, you know, going across your scalp. It goes into whatever you could talk about with your entire human body, because the body's all one. It's all connected. It can only ever work activated as a whole. Anywhere any of it goes, all of it comes. So yeah, this is knowledge you have to know. I'm not telling you something, I'm just giving you information. Universal truth on just, you know, you place something on your body top wise, and it has to be basically just like this as far as the locations, angles of things, and materials, okay? Forever, for always, every human being to ever live. It's just how it is, okay? So yeah, good is the point of this video. Okay. All right. Cool. I'm settled. I'm grateful. Yeah. Yeah. Stick around for those poodles, man. Don't believe me? Stick around for it, though, okay? Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, keep those collars snug. That's a big thing in a lot of modern clothing that we would call a t-shirt. The tops will be like hanging all over the place, and then you can never keep your collar centered, and then your muscles are just activating different on each side of the body, just because there's two sides to the spine and the trachea, okay, where the collar is going around. So that's huge, actually. Okay, I'm excited for where we're going with this. I'm excited to kind of have, you know, ahas from people when they see why I've made all these videos the way that I have, and, you know, maybe they didn't understand what I was doing, and just to be able to have these videos be something that can live on for literally eternity, because human beings will never change physically in in their operation on Earth. That's why we're here. We're designed in the image of God, and He's eternal and perfect and unchanging. And so our bodies designed in His image, they have been the same for thousands of years, and they will always be the same on this earth in this little probationary state. So yeah, it's just so grateful. Okay. So check us out, man. Don't overlook it. And a lot of what my gratitude is, like I'm saying, is just as time goes, the credibility will build, right? As far as to other people, of them seeing that, oh yeah, wow, what he's saying actually is really the fix. It just doesn't make sense at first to some, because most people don't know it, and not all that many people would be talking about it if they did or didn't anyway. And yeah, I've gone forth before other people with what I'm sharing and showing, and I'm the walking advertisement for what In The Image Clothing Company really does for the human body's natural function. And yeah, couldn't have happened any other way. I don't do any exercises. Yeah, we just have to allow the body to work. Tops are one of the biggest things. There's some big things, right? You introduce ropes, drawstrings and shoelaces, and just anything else that you place onto the body can be damaging, but tops are huge because of the rib cage, because of the lungs, because of supporting the head with the muscles that go to, where the tops are, because the jaw stabilizes the entire body, and it, again, goes to where the tops are. So, yeah, okay. It's huge. This is what will change your life. Knowing what a good item of clothing is. Okay. In the Image Clothing Company. Okay. Poodle Parade events. I'm picturing just often having Poodle Parade events. It's going to be so fun. They're not parades. It's just what we call it, right? The alliterations. I'm a lyricist, so it's kind of fun to... right? IICC, In The Image Clothing Company. Poodle Parades is a PP. We do a lot of stuff like that. Yeah, we do a lot, bro. So stick around, and don't expect it to make sense at first. You got to try a little bit, You got to put forth some effort. You got to taste and see to find out that the Lord is good. You have to actually put in some labor to see the fruits grow, and that's what I've done. And it's been about 9 months, give or take, since the founding of In The Image Clothing Company, and it's as real as it gets. All right. I'm an entirely different person if we're just talking about physically alone. That's undeniable. The gift of video. Okay. So there you go. Yeah. Shout out to the tree. It's my tripod for this, okay? But yeah. Stick around for the poodles. Okay. Thank you.